Oh, geez, you guys, that stings.
Oh, Sean, what happened to you?
I just cut my gosh darn thumb. Oh, and there's another one. That's both thumbs. I need those to be human.
Oh, shucks.
I can't even opposable them anymore. You know what? I'm gonna just have to avoid paper all the time from now on. I just can't deal with these pesky cuts and licking your fingers. That's gross. Why would I do that? Turning pages is for suckers. But I do like to read books. Oh, geez, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do.
If only there was an alternative, Sean.
Uh-huh. Like what, Steve?
Is there some way you could have someone read them to you?
What, like somebody come to your house?
Yeah.
Sit beside you,
Like-
hold your hand, make you hot milk?
Like bedtime stories when we was kids.
Tell you it's all going to be better. Everything will be all right.
Yeah.
It almost seems like we're talking about audiobooks.
There's such a thing.
There is such a thing. In fact, to all the great listeners out there, we can give them free audiobooks.
Did you say free, Sean?
I said free, they cost no monies at all.
Wow.
We like free.
Gots to get me some of these.
And all you have to do is go for a free trial on Audible by following the link on our page, which is audible.co.uk/Is It a Bicycle?
Fantastic.
And that's audible.co.uk/Is It a Bicycle with no question mark. Because that would be insane.
So do you mean if we register, we can get a free audiobook?
You can get a free book. And hey, you can have that book for keeps no matter what, even if you don't end up signing up for the rest of your internal lives.
What's the catch?
There is no catch. How dare you? So, everyone click on that link. That's audible.co.uk/Is It a Bicycle. Do it now, and you'll be our best friends. I'm gonna go take care of these cuts, you guys. Back in a second.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
Lads, I don't know what film you were watching, but it wasn't the same film I saw.
I'm all the man you need, Mark.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked and appalled.
So I'll bring it up, Ted.
It wasn't a very good movie. I laughed at it more than I laughed at The Possession.
Good evening and welcome to Is It a Bicycle? Season 7, Episode 16, the original and bestest ever TV and movie podcast from Ireland. My name is Stephen Wrigley and I'll be your host for this evening. Beside me is a man who says that people assume he's smart when they see his glasses case, but when they see that he just keeps a Mars bar in it, they recognise his true genius. It's Mike McDonough. Live from Vegas, we have a man whose favourite movie and favourite hobby is Home Alone. It's Sean. I love cans. And in the blue corner, it's our cuddly killer, a man who says his memory is only the second shortest thing he has. It's Mark, superhero Leonard. This week, we hope to discuss some movies in the shape of Dracula Untold and Horns, and some TV in the form of Bad Judge and The Flash. Of course, we'll have some of the usuals, and we'll have some trailers and Coming to a Bicycle near you. So, how are we doing?
I'm drained.
You're drained? Why are you drained?
after the intense emotional experience of the Blog Awards this year.
Oh, right. Yes.
It's taken me days, I say, to recover.
Yeah. It was good, wasn't it?
It was. Good fun.
Yeah. It was very well organised, and yeah, I have to say some of their judging was questionable, especially in the podcast category.
But we're not bitter.
No, we're not bitter. And I'm sure the best podcasts almost won. So. No, but congratulations, in all seriousness, to Anecdotes, who are this year's winner of the category in which we were placed.
Fair play to them.
Yeah, fair play to them indeed. So, Mike, what did you see this week that's not on the list?
Continuing in the vein of episode 2s, I watched episode 2 and 3 of Legends.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I really, really want to like this show because Sean is there.
Yeah.
But it's a bit shite.
I did venture into episode 2, I think the week after we reviewed episode 1, and I only got 20 minutes into it.
Ooh, that's never a good sign.
I know, I kind of went, yeah, I think I'm done. And you know what, it's not that it's a bad production. It's not that it's bad acting.
Yeah.
It's the script. I don't think it travels well.
Yeah.
You know.
And
Did you watch more of Legend, Sean?
You know what? The one thing that almost got me to was Sean Bean being a football manager. But that didn't get me. When I saw the promo for that and I didn't watch it, I was like, sure, there's no reason I'd watch it if I'm not going to follow up on him being a soccer fella.
Yeah.
So no, never went back to it.
Yeah, unfortunate that. So will you watch more of it, Mike, or are you done with...
I probably won't. The other ones I was looking at, like The Leftovers and The Last Fight Ship, are probably going to take up what little spare time I have. So.
Right, yeah. Okay, fair enough. Do you see anything this week, Sean? It's not on the list.
I've been incredibly busy. The only thing I've managed to see was the most recent episode of Gotham. Just came out. It's keeping the plot and moving along very quickly, which I appreciate, because sometimes first seasons will start to lag. But so far, so good.
This is episode 3 you're talking about?
Episode 3, yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, yeah. Yeah, looking forward to it. Did you know that Star Wars Rebels has started?
Yes, I heard about this.
Yeah.
I've been very interested in checking it out.
Yeah, it's very good.
Have not yet. Oh, really?
Yeah, in a Tron kind of way.
Is this animated or?
Yeah, it's animated. What was the name of the Tron series that we watched?
It was Tron Uprising.
Yes, yeah. So it's very much in that kind of genre, animated, based on a movie kind of thing, you know. But
so is it kind of cool, like enough for grown-ups to have something they're interested in, and the animation is interesting?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and the story lines aren't too bad either, actually. Yeah, yeah. I've seen the first 2 episodes, and it's kind of very easy watch. Just stick it on the background kind of thing. It's good.
And is it Star Wars universe or is it tied into the movies?
It's Star Wars universe.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a bit of crossover, but not much.
Okay.
So far, anyway. But,
just the occasional womp rat.
Yeah. I watched the start of a new series called Inquisition.
Oh.
Yeah, this is one you'd like.
Yeah, we reviewed the trailer a while back, didn't we?
It was a good while back, yeah.
We were quite excited.
Yes.
So how did this get by me?
It was all right.
I was relying on you, Steve.
It was all right. No, they've started with in France, of course. And that's pretty much what episode 1 was about, but they've a couple of characters on it that they're a bit too excited about what they're talking about. Sometimes being torture and things like that, so, but the historical side of it, is quite interesting. I mean the historical side as in the story of the Inquisition rather than the methods they employed, let's say.
Did you feel yourself identifying with the Inquisitors or?
No. No, and, Mark probably wouldn't like it because it's too educational.
Okay.
Yeah. But, dramatized history anyway. Anyone see Homeland? It started this week.
God, no. I'm dying to, though. I really want to see it.
I can't wait to see it. Yeah. And what else started? Love, Hate.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Popular Irish show. Yeah. No, I'm not sure. I will say that my social media thing was completely full of people asking about it. Yeah. And a lot of people asking, anyone know if I can watch that online if I'm not in Ireland? That'll be something that the immigration generation will remember fondly in many years to come. Jeez, do you remember watching Love, Hate? Remember that? It was awful, man. Had to find torrents and stuff, man. Oh, it was rough. Class, though. It was class.
Very good.
Well, it's only the most talked about TV show in the whole of our island of Ireland. I certainly have, Steve. It's the final season, I believe. They're going to wrap everything up now with this last one.
All right. And
the main character, our chief protagonist, although he behaves like an antagonist most of the time, Nidge, finds himself in fairly dire straits at the start of this episode. Everybody wants to shoot him. And he's talking to some big knob in Spain, and the guy is saying, I don't know if I can give you money, Nidge, because basically you're going to die really soon. So there's no, you're not a sound investment. And he's like, no, man, no, I'm still in it. He reminds me a little bit of Mike Bisping trying to tell people that he's not going nowhere. But yeah, it was a good episode, I thought. There was a lot of grief on professional pundits again in Ireland, were talking about how, I know they've jumped the shark. And to me, their review just sounded like a bunch of people trying to be the first to say something so they will be the cool ones.
Right.
In my opinion, it hasn't jumped the shark. I think it's exactly the same quality of writing and characterization. There's a new character introduced in this episode who was established very quickly and very ably. And he's actually being played, I don't know the actor's name, and I must apologize, but he's the guy that was in the McDonald's ad who didn't want to teleport his cheeseburger because it wrecks the cheese.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
You see, and when I say that to people, they go, oh, yeah, that's who he is. So he's obviously doing quite well for himself, landing a pretty good role in one of the most popular TV shows of all time in Ireland. So they did a lot of clever things, I thought, in the story. They sold us a very solid dummy about what the direction the show was going to take for the first 2 acts. And in the third act, they jinked hard to the left. Said, no, that's not it. So I really enjoyed the story arc of that first episode. I didn't really agree with what most of the critics were saying here. We've seen all this before and all the rest. But I don't think so. I think
if you
it's a new
haven't
stage.
seen Love Hate, could you jump right in now at the start of this season? This is season 4, right, isn't it?
I wouldn't recommend it.
Right.
Firstly, because Love Hate's an excellent show.
Yeah. And
it's worth watching from the start to get the full depth and breadth of the story and the characters. And in particular, Nidge, because, he's potentially a tragic hero in this show. And I don't think you can really understand that character development without seeing him from the start.
Right.
But I would recommend people do that. It is worth doing. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Do you think somebody like Netflix will pick it up so that people outside Ireland can see it?
I don't know. Do we have any way of knowing whether this show works outside of Ireland?
It probably needs subtitles.
It probably would, yeah. No, all joking aside, it probably would. There's some very strong accents in it.
I don't know. I'd say in the same way that a lot of the Italian and French series work outside of their respective countries.
Italia and Francia.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's it's a high quality series, so I don't see why not. Yeah,
I'd agree. Quality is quality,
Yeah, people never get tired of watching other people kill each other. So
absolutely.
Well,
there's people.
Oh, sorry, go on, Mark.
There's people all over the world, like you, Steve, that don't mind subtitles.
Yeah, I've watched Gomorrah, the series, and Romanzo Criminale, which are fantastic. And then of course there's Bracco, which mainstream, The Killing,
Spiral, and
Borgen. There's loads of them just in the last couple of years, so I don't see why this wouldn't work either.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Okay, so first up, first of our movies, we're going to talk about Dracula Untold. Mike.
As Mike quickly scans IMDb to get a synopsis. Yes, folks, on this podcast, we spare no amount of preparation. We all arrive in the Easy Bicycle studio ready to go.
In my defense, it's not for a synopsis, it's for the actors' names. Okay, Dracula Untold is yet another rehashing of the Dracula story. This time you have Prince Vlad is taken as a hostage into the Turkish court, and he is raised by the Turks and trained to be an ultimate killing machine. When he becomes an adult, he's sent back to assume his ancestral rights and become a prince in his own right. Unfortunately, he has no army, so he's got to basically do what the Sultan of the Turks says, which normally involves a tribute. Unfortunately, the tributes become too onerous for him to bear, so he needs to find a way to fight back. And the most obvious way that anybody could think to fight back against overwhelming force is to become a vampire. So, anyway, he becomes a vampire, kicks a hell of a lot of ass, and then...
Hang on. How does he become a vampire?
Well, I don't want to go too spoilery on it.
Does he get bitten by a vampire?
It's more
Is it the traditional method?
Well, here's the thing about this rendition of the story. This is all about free will and the choices that we make, and where is the dividing line between what makes us a good guy and what drives us over the line to become a monster. And it's all tremendously philosophical in a PG-13 sort of a way.
Okay, yeah.
So basically, he's got choices to make, and he makes them, and they're not presenting this as a good old-fashioned evil vampire thing. They're trying to present him as a hero and an action hero and a good family man and somebody who's trying to protect his country. So
Yeah.
he's doing this for all the right reasons, and then becoming an ultimate monster. And therein kind of lies the weakness of the movie.
I was going to say, it's awfully, this is Universal, isn't it? Universal Studios?
I believe so.
Yeah, it's awfully brave of them to
It is.
to claim that they know what the story was before.
Yeah. I mean, they've got all the bits in it. You know, they have Vlad the Impaler, they have the Turks, they have Eastern Europe.
Which is who he's based on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Originally, yeah.
It's just the way they put them together. They take quite a lot of liberties, I think. I mean, first off, they've decided straight off the bat that they're not going to make this a horror movie. It's more of an action adventure kind of a thing.
Superhero.
Yeah. A superhero with fangs and a conscience.
With bats. Now, what kind of a name would you come up with if it bats? Yes,
And a really cool belt.
It's interesting that you guys bring up superheroes, because apparently Dracula Untold is the beginning of Universal Studios' monster movie shared universe,
Oh, here comes a franchise. Yeah.
wherein they're all going to be in their coexisting in the same world.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when Dracula and the Mummy have a disagreement about land? You know?
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. Mike, did you think that there was any support for that in the movie?
100% true. I got the impression watching this movie that it was the directors actually felt that it was a bit of a waste of time, and they were only doing the movie to set it up for the sequel. And this is brought into absolute clarity by the final sequence, where basically they're changing the time of the action, and also Charles Dance, he plays the kind of source vampire, and he does an absolutely brilliant job at that. I just can't believe over his long career that he hasn't had more leading roles. I mean, he's just the master of supporting actors.
Right.
Between Game of Thrones and Michael Collins and all these kind of things, he's just been brilliant. But he's never allowed to be super brilliant.
Right. Bit of a Kieran Hines.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's in this for probably 15 minutes max, but he just steals every scene he's in because he's just so cool. And he's genuinely a little bit scary as a vampire, much more so than the rest of the show. You know, what's his name? Luke Evans, who plays Vlad.
Yeah,
you will be cutting that out, Steve. Luke Evans, he just looks too much like a good guy, whereas Charles Dance just positively reeks of evil. And that's a big weakness in the movie. It's hard to take him seriously as a killer.
Yeah.
When all he really wants to do is save his family.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake, catch yourself on.
So, does he do So you're talking about saving his family, and there's a bit of honor involved.
Oh yes, lots of honor.
And is there a lot of speeches involved in this honor to bring it across?
Yeah. Actually, that's one of the stronger points of the movie. There are some decent lines in it. Had it been a better movie, a more memorable movie, you would have remembered these lines and said, "Yeah, that was a pretty good job."
Yeah.
And I mean, on the positive side, I thought the costume design was brilliant. It really looked the part. A lot of the special effects were very good. But the whole motivation side of it was really, really weak. And the main bad guy, who is Dominic Cooper. Dominic Cooper was just totally miscast in this movie.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a bad guy, you've got to be intimidating on screen, and he's just not. He's
Right.
I'm sure he's a lovely fella and a very good actor, but this just wasn't the role for him.
Right.
And
So a miscast there.
yeah, and totally unbalanced.
Yeah.
I mean, Dracula is so unbelievably overpowered
Yeah.
compared to everybody else that it's impossible to ever really feel, worried for him.
Yeah.
Because he just kicks ass on a monumental scale.
Right.
Bit of a trend this movie season.
Yeah. So when you, obviously a movie like this, you're going to have a boss fight, like any good video game. But of course, when the boss that you have to fight is, barely a speck of dust in the mote of your eye, it's it's hard to make the person worried about it.
Yeah.
So they come up with preposterous ways to even the odds and make some kind of drama out of it.
Right.
And that really is the weakest part of it. They come up with situations. Basically, the writers have good ideas, and then they work themselves into a hole, and then instead of rescuing the story based on the events leading up to it, they just come up with some miraculous get-out-of-jail clause to get rid of story elements that no longer are needed.
Yeah.
So it's it's kind of weak in that regard.
Okay. And so is the hook at the end big?
It's very big.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I would almost actually watch the sequel, just because I like the hook a lot.
The hook, yeah.
I like the hook an awful lot more than I like the movie.
And Dominic Cooper, he plays Mehmed.
Yeah.
Right. And who Mehmed is?
He's the Turkish Sultan.
Okay. Yeah. So hang on. So there is no Turkish actors?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah.
There are swarthy-looking, dark-haired actors wearing Turkish armor.
Yeah, from places like York.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Scunthorpe,
I'm
maybe.
sure people are going to be upset about this, no doubt. But anyway.
Yeah. But they do put on accents like.
Oh, then that makes it grand. Yeah, that's fine.
It's all right.
Sure, I always thought they should have done what Shakespeare did and just have them all be men, some of them pretending to be women. Then it'd be a lot easier.
No, I remember how much you loved that particular trope of casting people in nationalities they don't actually have.
Yeah.
In Tyrant, you really enjoyed it in that show.
That's right. Yeah.
You spent
really
a
worked for
good
me.
20 minutes lambasting the chief character for not being where he was supposed to be from.
Yeah. But you know what the funniest thing about that was that Steve actually gave out to me about it. And when I think back at it, if the guy in Tyrant had been pretending to be Korean, we would have never heard the end of it. Yeah, that guy so doesn't look Korean.
You mean like your man in Bond? What's his name?
Yeah.
Oddjob.
Oddjob.
Yeah, he's Japanese, isn't he?
Well,
Not
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, Dracula Untold, it's got a lot of good things going for it.
Yeah.
But it's got a lot of really weak parts too, which kind of killed the movie. So I'm going to have to give this a fairly average 5. I would like to give it higher.
Yeah.
I have a question, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
I'm contemplating going to see this movie in IMAX
Okay.
or another film format which I could also purchase.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it would be worth the cost of an IMAX ticket?
There are some special effects that probably would benefit from IMAX.
Are there like 2 special effects that would benefit from it, or is it throughout?
I wouldn't say it's throughout. There are probably 3 or 4 scenes where IMAX would definitely add to it. Whether it's worth it, I don't know. It's really a time filler for me. I wouldn't honestly say to anybody, go out and you have to see this movie. I'd be inclined to say wait for video. But if somebody gave me 2 free tickets to IMAX, I'd say, yeah, where's the popcorn? Let's go.
Very good. So it's a 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
A solid 5.
Okay. Okay. So next up we have the first of our TV, which is Bad Judge.
So Bad Judge is about this judge who is sexually promiscuous and isn't very good at her job. And a host of uninteresting people complicate her life in various ways. But she's a nice person, but also she's flawed. So, let's have 100 episodes of that bullshit.
That's pretty much it in a nutshell. Yeah. Mark, what did you think of Bad Judge?
Bad Judge, oh man, does that start off with a bang. So, if you have watched as much of Private Practice as I have, when the main character of Bad Judge appears face down, arse in the air, in some kind of lingerie, and then turns around and it's Kate, what's her name? Kate, anybody?
Walsh, I don't know.
Well, it's something Walsh. It mightn't even be Kate, although I did go very strongly with that first name. That's a mistake you can't make in singles bars, by the way.
It is Kate Walsh, by the way.
That's why I did so well in singles bars. But when she actually gets up when her alarm goes off and you see that it's her dressed like that after being on a bender, then you kind of went, right, this really isn't Private Practice, and she's not playing the prim and proper doctor she used to back in that show. I didn't hate it. Let me get that out there straight away. I don't think I really laughed very much. When I was watching it, like I didn't know she was in it till I watched this, which is the beauty of putting shows on a list that you know nothing about, right? And when I saw her in it, I immediately went, "There's no way she's going to be able to pull off comedy. This woman is not built for comedy at all. At least she wasn't in Private Practice." But I thought she did an okay job, You have to completely check everything you know about the real world at the door, because a person like the main character in this show could not exist. And that's always a problem, because, if it's that fantastical, can it really be funny? Because you like to see things being funny because they could happen to you, But an awful lot of stuff in this episode would never happen to anyone, really. But, I bravely watched on, and there's other characters in it. They're not all that interesting. I didn't think it was as heavily stereotyped as some other shows are, but you did have, the token kid in there for sympathy. You had the boss that we're not supposed to like, but he might have a heart of gold, maybe. But
the security guard.
He was funny, actually.
Yeah.
He was about the funniest in it.
Tedward Mulray.
Yeah.
And it's played by an actor. I love it. I love his name. Tone Bell. Is his name. Isn't that a rocking name? Isn't it?
That is But no, I think it was a miss for me. I didn't hate it, like I said, but I can't see myself watching much more of this.
I hated it. Yeah, didn't like it. Didn't like her I didn't like her character. I mean, she is a good actress, and there was, like you say, the comedy in it. She was able to produce it, but no, it's just not for me. It's completely not my kind of show. Mike.
Yeah, well, I think Mark kind of caught it. This is a person who can't exist.
Yeah.
So for me, if you're going to go down that route, you have to, go big or go home. And they missed it in the very first scene. If she had been, in handcuffs and sucking a lemon with, a broomstick nearby,
Where's this going?
that might have made you sit back and say, okay, this might be something different. But they always try to keep it sort of family-friendly-ish. So it's always going to be a bit crap, because it's not funny, it's not extreme. So where is it going to live?
Yeah, it's not late night TV.
Yeah. It's very much so not going to be in the Archer kind of vein. And it's not realistic enough to get your Grey's Anatomy private practice-y kind of people watching it. So I don't know who's going to watch this.
Sean, will you watch this?
No, I won't. Here are my list of reasons. 1, it's not funny. 2, the show is going to get cancelled, so do not put any investment in it whatsoever. 3, the casting is manipulative, bland, and problematic. Allow me to elaborate.
Please do.
there is one woman in this show, so then they decided they didn't need any women in this show.
Yeah.
That's not great, because now it's just like, look at her, she likes having sex. Isn't she a progressive female character? Not really.
And
seems
she's a
kinda
judge.
shit. Yeah.
She must be
the
so
casting is
smart.
weird. There is a poor black child whose mother is I can't remember, an addict or a criminal of some kind. So the white woman saves the black child, which is, great, because that's what black people need. White people to save them. And I appreciate the fact that the security guard, who seems like the best comedic actor of the entire lot, had nothing to do and was basically a servant, just kind of like leaning against the wall, casting like wry glances at things and going, "Oh, you guys got problems. Whoa." So, for those reasons, and the fourth one being it is really bland and washed out, as you guys have discussed, super tame. I will never be watching this show again. And I'm really glad that I watched it on NBC.com for free.
So, do I gather that it's 4 fillers we have here for this one?
I think so, Steve.
Yeah.
The Marianas Trench is no more full of water than this is filler.
Okay. Right. We'll leave. That was a bad judgment on that. Oh, did I?
Well done, Steve. Well done.
I was thinking of that one all week.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's a reviewer who prepares.
So, next up, let's talk about second of our movies, which is Horns. It is about a boy and a girl. And they're
love
very
each other
much
very
deeply in love. Yeah. And somehow the girl is murdered and the boy is blamed for it, and the whole town has ostracized him and the media are chasing him. As the title and the trailer will tell you, one day he wakes up and he has horns. Yeah, that's the oddest kind of, plot line that I've seen in a while, and the movie doesn't get any more plainer. It gets odder as it goes on, I think. Yeah. What did we think of this?
Right. Does anybody remember a British miniseries called Mr. Pie?
No.
I'm not surprised. It wasn't great, but I watched it back in the 80s. And the main character was a really pious man who was good to everybody and went to church a lot. And because of that, he was granted a boon and started to, by God, I presume, and started to grow wings. But he didn't like growing wings, but he came up with a solution. He started stamping on children's sandcastles, literally, because this was a BBC show, and other bad things like that resulted in his wings falling off and getting horns. So he'd obviously gone too far. The theme of that show is shared by this movie and this book.
Oh.
Which I'm not going to talk through because there's potential spoilers in it. But the first problem I had going into the film, having previewed this on this very podcast, was that the dude just wakes up with horns, and this presents with some problems, not the least of which would be going through security in an airport, for example. But they handle that very well. So people notice it, but they just can't keep it in their heads, so it's not a big deal. And I think it's no harm to know that. I thought the film was gratuitous to a fault. It was almost the synopsis for a porn. There's this guy with giant horns in his head, and if he tells you to do kinky shit, you'll do it. Like, there have been porns made with exactly that synopsis. But that being said, they have a go at tackling a bunch of different social issues through characterization, which was done pretty effectively, I thought, right? So in the first 15 minutes, I thought to myself, man, I'm going to hate this.
Yeah.
This is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then given it another 15 minutes, I said, actually, they're trying to do something here. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like some films that I would call as weepy Oscar films, right? Go really, really into being realistic. And like, so we're so real. And this is such a real life situation. And it's going to make you cry because life makes you cry. And I think this film is actually doing the opposite, and it's going, we're so ridiculous, and this could never happen in real life, but we will now sneak in real life between the cracks. And I thought it did pretty good at that. I'm going to talk about Daniel Radcliffe before you guys get to it, but
Okay.
how weighty a background the Harry Potter films must be to an actor like him, who unfortunately didn't grow up big and tall. Which means that he resembles his character in Harry Potter forever. The first thing he did in this film to try and avoid that comparison, which he's doomed to have forever, is he didn't shave. And it helped, but it's a very, very slim disguise. I thought Daniel was really good in this film. I thought for big, long swaths of this film, I forgot he was Harry Potter. And every so often he'd turn in a strange angle and I go, "You're a wizard, Harry." And that kind of breaks it. But that's not his fault. You know, we all watched the Harry Potter movies. They were very well loved. You've seen a lot of screen time where he played this same character. It's hard to get away from that. I don't doubt that Horns is probably, his attempt to try and do that. And he certainly did, but he was believable. He was very, very convincing. He was so convincing, in fact, that I started to really dislike his character about 3/4 of the way through the film. Because it's fine to be grieving, as he is, and it's fine to have powers that can help you sort out your grief. But he's extremely cavalier with causing harm to other characters in this movie. And that started to kind of rub me the wrong way a bit, because I'm going, how am I supposed to root for this guy? No matter how badly he's been hurt by the catalytic events of this film. So I thought he did a great job, and I thought that the writers rescued his character in the final act, and I thought they rescued it very, very well, and I really enjoyed the film as a whole. So for me, it was a bit iffy in the first 15 minutes, but got steadily better from there on in, and I think Daniel Radcliffe did a great job.
Sean?
I kind of agree with Mark in a lot of ways, although I do think that he ended up liking the film more than I did. I think the gratuity of certain, look at how the mechanism of the powers work, I think that was a little rough. But I almost feel like the problem with it is that it might just be a story more suited to a novel format. Joe Hill, son of Stephen King, I don't know whether he just reads his father's books a lot, but I think that there's something in the genes that carries through.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. And I've read his comic book work as well, and I love it. Like Lock and Key is one of my favorite comics. But in this, and maybe it's Alexandra Aya's fault as well, I can almost see the strings of the conversion. So like one of the worst parts of the movie is there's some really on-the-nose narration from Daniel Radcliffe's character that I just found unnecessary. Like, we didn't need it. I think everything would have worked out just as well without it. So that was kind of getting to me. I thought that the depths to which humans would go were plumbed significantly well. And I think that actually offered a potentially more interesting ending than the one they ended up going with. I also thought the dialogue, and again, this might be because of the conversion problem, but the dialogue every now and then was so blatantly on the nose that I was either anticipating events that ended up happening, or I was just like, I mean, I get it. I am watching the film. Like, I appreciate it, but you don't need to perfectly spell it out for me.
Yeah.
I thought all the performances were pretty good, and I thought that the visuals were suited to the kind of strange world that the characters started to inhabit. I didn't think that any of them were significantly, ooh, that's cool, but I did think there was a good job done of showing the three main locations of like forest stuff, and waterside things. So good set locations. I think they found those quite well. So I don't know. It was weird. I kind of oscillated throughout the movie about how much I liked it.
I honestly didn't know what to make of it. I didn't know what genre it fit into, or even halfway through the movie. And I did go through stages of, I'm not going to like this. Oh, this is pretty good. Oh, that's interesting. They didn't need to do that, And it's sort of, I'm not really enjoying it now. And then, Jesus, really, I'd all those kind of thoughts pop into my head and the feelings about the movie, and I thought there was a lot of stuff that was quite unnecessary.
Completely.
Yeah, like,
it was an awful lot. It was gratuitous for no reason.
Absolutely, and it it would have been a better movie had they toned it down a bit, in my eyes. But at the end of it, you know, 3/4 of the way through it, I'd say, 3/4 of the way through it, I was thinking, yeah, I'm really enjoying this. And then the last quarter of it, by the end of it, I was just like, no, didn't like it.
So the last act, for me and you, were two completely different things.
Yeah.
Because the gratuitousness, which I think should be called gratuosity, I thought was put in there to put weight behind the character shift towards the end, which tied things up. And I thought, like, you have to be careful what you say here now, because I think this film is really something that people should explore for themselves. Because we don't agree. We already don't agree. And I think other people have differing opinions as well. Did you see this, Mike?
I did.
I might shut up then and hear what the McDonough has to say. Or Steve, sorry, you're mid-review.
Well, you guys do.
No, I'm pretty much finished. No, it was just, I think it was several parts of it that were, the bits that I found unnecessary ruined it for me. And I think they all happened, those bits all happened near the last act, as you say. And Sean, you sort of brought that up as well, saying that there could have been a better ending to this. And I agree. I don't think there's, even if the unnecessary bits weren't in there, I still think there could have been a better job done to round things up.
Yeah, I Mike, sorry, I'm going to butt in again. Just to retain my title of most annoying podcaster on this show. No, I just wanted to say, I think that I felt that the gratuitousness was put there to start you thinking, like I did, that this character mightn't be somebody worth rooting for, so that the slight shift towards the end impacted you more, just a bit more. That's what I thought they were doing. I thought all those events and the things he did and people around him did were just building up the impetus for the final act, I thought.
I think Steve summed it up when he said unnecessary. I thought the whole movie was unnecessary. I just, from the very get-go, as soon as the horns showed up, the first thing I thought of was Pan's Labyrinth, which is one of my personal least favorite movies of all time.
Really?
So that instantly killed it for me.
Subtitles, Mike.
The characters, I could care less about them. Their motivation, their survival.
Oh, come on, Heather Graham. You didn't care about Heather Graham?
No.
I fail to believe that.
I couldn't even care about Heather Graham. It was just desperate. Yeah.
Man, you were in some mood that night.
Mike,
wow.
you have let me down
I don't
so
believe
thoroughly.
What
you have no idea.
about.
No, not because you didn't like it, because that's fine.
Yeah.
But listen, think back, right?
Yeah.
How many TV shows and movies have we watched where somebody gets, wrongfully murdered?
Yeah.
And we have to spend a couple hours in the case of a film or months in the case of a TV show sifting through person after person to figure out who the killer is. Mm-hmm. And then this film turns up, gives Daniel Radcliffe's horns, and he can accomplish so much in half an hour. I was just thinking, this is brilliant. Imagine if he had those horns in The Killing, the pain it would have saved me. Friend of the dad, did you do it? He goes, no, but I'm going to go have sex with somebody I shouldn't. And you're laughing. You don't need a full episode now to rule him out. You just go on to the next person. And I thought you'd appreciate that.
No, I was just sitting there watching it, and like every time you come across another character who's revealing their innermost thoughts and secrets and whatnot, I kept thinking this is like a shit version of Under Milkwood. And I it just got me more and more bored and wanting to drink myself into a stupor.
Wow,
the more
man.
I had to look at it.
You found that one thing that annoyed you and it exploded.
Drink
just
yourself more
reverberated through the whole thing.
It did have a bit of what women want. Is it the Mel Gibson thing? Yeah.
These two films are the same.
No. In the thought with the whole thoughts thing. Brilliant scene, and there is a bit of it in the trailer, is where he talks to his mother after growing the horns. Yeah. I laughed at that. And that's when I started enjoying it. Yeah.
I did not laugh at that at all.
I thought it was hilarious.
I worry that that's what I'll think about my fucking kids.
But I think that might be telling of some character investment, maybe, because I really felt his pain there.
Oh, really?
That scene happened. Yeah, I just thought, man, how crap is this guy's life?
I also, for the genre comment, I think that the two things that work well together are it's a mystery with fantasy elements, so like a fantasy mystery, but it's also a story which we've seen a lot of versions before. It might even be a micro genre. Remember in childhood when some stuff happened? Years later, they all end up back in like similar place, and there are occurrences and consequences because of their childhood lives. That is also a movie that's within this, that's seen very much throughout the middle and end, and with the various flashbacks as well. So I think that was a little awkward, because I was like, I wish that you'd focused on that thing. I want to know more about Meatbag's life, because it's a very, very first-person story.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it's third-person or first-person narration in the book, but whichever one it is, I bet it's pretty much heavily focused on Iggy Parish.
Any more to say on that, Mike?
No, nothing at all.
No? Do you want to give us a mark?
Just let me go home.
Is so weird because sorry.
No, go ahead, Sean.
I was just going to say it's really weird because we've all clearly liked or disliked completely different parts of this movie.
Yeah.
Because I think some of the stuff you thought was gratuitous, I was just like, finally, it's interesting. He's using his powers to like be a bit on the edge. It's like watching Constantine or some shit. And you were like, yeah, that was making me dislike him. I don't really know. And I was like, no, he is valiant. He will succeed. Use the powers. So I just think it's weird how much it split us. And that's cool.
So Mike, set the bar. Give us a mark.
I'm going to give it a thoroughly dreadful 3.
3. Wow. Okay.
Gasp.
Mark.
I'm a little bit torn on this one because I enjoyed it, and that should be the biggest determinant of your mark. I'd be worried that marking it too highly will cause people to use gratuosity when they shouldn't.
Yeah, that's a danger.
But I think I'm going to come down on the side of the fact that they used it in this film, to my mind, for a purpose. And also to my mind, that purpose was achieved. So for me, it's a 7, Steve.
A 7. Right on. Sean.
It definitely gets the gold star for originality, and I'm going to give this a 6.
Original it was, all right, yeah. But yeah, had it been 3/4 of the way through the movie, it would have been nearly a 7-ish. But no, it's just a 5, just about, almost a 4. It would have been a 4.5 had we half marks.
We've almost got a straight.
Almost, yeah. But any film that divides 4 guys who like similar things in many ways has good qualities to it, because you can go there with a group of friends or your better half, and you'll have a great conversation afterwards about what you thought. And I think if a movie can engender conversation like that, then it's worth a few quid at the cinema, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that was Horns.
All you lovely listeners out there may remember that we discussed Dead Snow 2, Red versus Dead, recently on the podcast. And luckily, I got a chance to interview the director, Tommy Wirkola, and one of the stars, Martin Starr. So how about you guys take a listen? I hope you enjoy it. So the first question I had for you guys was essentially, why do you think people are so interested in zombie movies right now?
Well, it's always like it goes up and down, while it's vampires, then it's werewolves, and then zombies. It is like it goes in and out, I guess, but hopefully we're hitting at Walk Hawk, yeah. But, no, I guess, Walking Dead, of course, has been a big contributor to it the last few years, but that's why we also, because we know there's a lot of zombie movies out there, and we hopefully try to make something that is, separates itself a little bit, and our zombie, trying to make our zombies as unique as possible.
Yeah, I actually have a compliment before my next question. You are sick and twisted.
Right.
Yeah, you guys are messed up in the brain. And I think that led to a movie that a lot of us at the podcast really enjoyed.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. We genuinely all agreed. I mean, I think it's rare that a film gets people to all react in the same ways at the same times to something. And I'm really excited about a cinema audience getting to laugh at the exact same horrible things and then feel ashamed at the exact same time.
Well, that's the best kind of laughter. That's the laughter we're going for. The one you're laughing and then you get the feeling of guilt in your gut.
Yeah. Do you think that there's anything serious and sacred in the film, like, or for the characters that people like, that you guys don't make fun of quite as much to preserve some sort of emotional sequence or integrity?
Well, I think our main protagonist is kind of, he I don't know. I mean, like, he is really kind of grounded, I guess, in the world, and his suffering is real. I mean, there's got to be something to connect to in these kinds of films. Otherwise, it can't be fun and games all the time. And so hopefully, Bergard, who plays the lead, he really, he played it real. He plays his suffering real. He really sells the whole, holy fuck, what kind of situation am I in? While, of course, the zombie hunters, for them, it's just more like normal business. Not as normal, but I mean, it's in their universe at least. But for him, this is all crazy and absurd, and I think his performance really, sells the world in that way.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that you've got a couple different layers of humor and activity going on in the movie. You've got the fish out of water zombie squad adding a different layer of humor to the film. And there was something that I was wondering is, have you guys, both of you, noticed a difference in how Norwegians and Americans are reacting to certain jokes that might be about Norway or certain jokes just about Americans?
One thing, for example, is the cops. Mm-hmm. The humor there is very Norwegian. I mean, like it plays on. Where I'm from in the north, for example, there's so few people living there, and the cops are so bored to death. There's nothing happening basically in a lot of small towns, and it's a lot of jokes, and they're kind of the observers of the story, and that plays really well in Norway, I think. But in general, I would say that American audiences are just a lot more vocal and out there than Norwegians. We're a lot more held back and quiet. Well, so the funnier screenings has always been over in the U.S. I don't know what you, Martin, what do you think?
There's definitely a difference that I see just in general in Norwegian openness to laugh at certain things. I feel like American audiences are more timid and shy to get on board with a joke sometimes. So it certainly plays differently here than there. But we're also looking at two different cuts of the movie. I mean, the Norwegian cut.
Yeah. Did you see the full English version or the one with subtitles?
I saw the full English version. Yeah, we were aware that there was another one, which we thought was really innovative and just a smart idea.
Yeah, it just gets better release. Better release, and then it's half of the film was in English anyway, so the rest we did in both languages. But no, it's funny. I went to this film in Korea recently as well, and in the U.S., for example, maybe the Star Wars references because they've seen a lot of Kevin Smith movies, and the referencing Star Wars might be, you've seen it a few times there, but in Korea, that got the biggest laughs for some reason. Every time you mentioned Star Wars, they was just catching on in Korea. They were rolling out. So it is funny to see what different people and cultures laugh at.
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. Can I ask, how similar are the Norwegian characters to actual Norwegians, for people who haven't had a chance to visit?
Accurate. Totally accurate.
Martin, he's an observer. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. We try to, I guess it's... That's a good question. Martin, you answer.
That's exactly how the cops are.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it'll encourage some people to go check it out for themselves. So you guys have some of the most innovative zombie deaths that I've seen in general. And I was wondering, was there anything that you came up with either too late or that you didn't have the time to do? Or are there any deaths that you really wanted to get to that you just couldn't for some reason?
Well, we're going to go third movie, and we'll get into those.
Awesome. So the zombie squad's going to be back.
I mean, fingers crossed. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, we want. I think it could be a trilogy for sure. But and so this one, of course, there's always more stuff you want to have in, and we actually shot a scene that we ended up cutting that was too extreme even for me, which is rare. But
yeah, I was actually really surprised.
It's an editing. Not to spoil anything, but there's a lot of scene in the film, and that was shot a lot more explicit than you see in the film.
A lot more explicit.
Oh my god.
A lot of horrible details. And I cut it together, and I saw the film, and I myself got embarrassed almost. Like, this is too much. You can't do this.
This is why you can't have the director's mother in the editing room.
No. But so there is a limit, but not because it was too out necessarily, but because there's always a balance, and at that particular moment, I actually wanted to keep it romantic instead of gross. Because yes, I do think it's romantic in a way.
I think the other way was pretty romantic too.
Yeah.
Will we get to see that at any point on the internet or on the DVD? Because I am incredibly interested to see how gross this can be.
Well, I want to cut it and put it on YouTube, like a music video. Yeah. There's white corpse maggots involved in the more intimate parts of their body. Yeah, it's long list of disgusting details.
Awesome. Cool. Great.
You're going to love the details, yeah.
Could I ask, what was your guys' favorite, this might be different for both of you, what was your favorite part of the movie to film, or just your favorite moment on set?
I want to say the action sequences, but that's when the weather was the worst for us, so it made it actually less enjoyable to shoot it and to be out in that weather. But
we had a tank fight, that was insane.
Yeah, I think I had the most fun with that big outdoor sequence.
Yeah.
Where was it Johan, the stunt guy, where he was like, throw the hammer at his head. This ball got cut out, but he was like, throw the hammer at his head, and I was like, okay. And he was like, but like anywhere near that, like it's difficult, it's okay. I was like, hit him in the head. He's like, okay, well, just try and hit him in the head. I was like, okay, I will. And then I hit him in the head twice, and the second time busted his lip open with a rubber hammer. And then the guy Johan, he came back and he was like, okay, this time just try and hit him in the chest. Still no faith in me that I had any accuracy whatsoever to those two like happenstantial events that happened. I just happened to hit him in the face twice. So then I hit him in the chest a few times. But he never gave me credit for having any sort of dexterity, It was a really fun sequence to do all the action stuff and to work with them on it.
Yeah, I would say that too. Because that's what we kind of the whole shoot ended up with. I mean, we built up towards a sequence, and literally all the money that left, we saw what we could afford, not afford in that big sequence, and we shot it over a week and a half, or 2 weeks, I think. That was just fun, going crazy finally, and shooting all that action and playing around with how many set pieces we had planned and not planned, and then they had the tank in there. It was a lot of complex scenes, but it was a lot of fun as well. It was.
Cool. And can I ask, besides Dead Snow, what's next for you guys, Tommy and Martin?
I'm jumping into the second season of Silicon Valley, and I have a movie that's coming out early next year, I believe the end of January, but it's still not set, called The Mirror and Sam, that I'm also really proud of.
Okay, cool.
For me, I'm attached to a sci-fi called What Happened to Monday with Numero Paz, and hopefully that will be my next thing. We're aiming to start shooting early next year sometime.
That's awesome. And do you guys find that it's, after spending so much time on a movie like this, that you have to kind of return your sensibilities to the normal world, to not just have a bunch of people walking around as zombies that you're going to pretend to eviscerate over and over again, both in your heads and then watching it, editing it, etc., etc.? Is it very different from other things that you've done, obviously, besides the first Dead Snow?
Yeah, very different, but I didn't think there was any need to readjust after we were done there. You go back into normal life. There was something funny, though, that when we were shooting that big action sequence, I feel like in America, kids would be scared of all the zombies running around, the Nazi zombies, but where we were in Iceland, all the kids wanted photos and specifically to hug the zombie. They were like, I just want to hug them. And so then they would go up and an AD would say, yeah, go just ask them if you can get a hug. They would go get hugs. They were all so excited about it.
Well, yeah, I think people in different cultures and generations maybe are certainly very different. That is, I think I need to see the Tumblr for that. I need to go on Instagram and see these children hugging these zombies.
Yeah, you might have to start it.
It was a very, very quiet time in Iceland where nothing happened at all. So I'm sure whatever it was, it could have been 3 feet alien monsters who arrived. They were still hugging like that. Hey, welcome.
Yeah, they needed love. All their parents had left the town, I guess.
It was like children of the corn. Children.
They were only children.
So one last thing I gotta ask. Do you guys see any similarity, and is this intentional? Because there's a lot of references in the film that I found particularly enjoyable. Do you see the closest resemblance between this movie and something like Evil Dead, maybe Army of Darkness?
Yeah, that's obviously a big inspiration. I'll also say Brain Dead from Peter Jackson, or Dead Alive, I think it was called here. Mm-hmm. So certainly those films that when I was younger and I saw them, the way they combined humor and gore and action, it was like a eye-opener for me. And there were obviously big influences. I would say that the first one, we had so many obvious references to the actual films, but our goal was this time to more just be inspired by those films and make our own thing. But yeah, they were important to us from a long time ago.
And Martin, do you think that you'd be happy to step into Bruce Campbell's shoes for the next 30, 40, 100 years?
Those are big shoes to fill. I'm just enjoying this ride while it lasts. I'm really happy that I got the opportunity to do this.
And we hopefully will get to see the third installment of this thing and both respect, adore, and fear you guys even more as time goes on. Thank you guys very much for talking to us here at the podcast.
Thank you.
Hopefully everything goes really well for you guys. I can't wait to watch the movie again with my friends and watch them become both uncomfortable and very happy.
That's the reaction you're going for.
Yeah. I think that's perfect.
Next up, we'll talk about second arc of our TV, which is The Flash.
So, The Flash, this is a TV series by young Barry Allen.
It was me, but go ahead.
This is a TV series about young Barry Allen, a forensic science investigator, who, in a freak accident, gains the power to move at incredible speeds. And he wants to use these powers to clear his father's name, because years ago when he was a child, his mother was murdered under mysterious, blurry circumstances. And he's got a cast of people from Star Labs, the science people, who are trying to figure out why, as a series of these superpowered beings are springing up all across the place. Also, this is in the same universe as Arrow, the CW TV series.
Meta-humans.
I want to hear from Mike.
Guessed, huh?
I want to hear what Mike has to say. He's in so much pain this week.
Oh, he is, isn't he? Come on, Mike.
Yeah, it's been an ugly week. I was really, really happy when Arrow showed up, and I was really sad when he left. And
you've got a thing for Arrow, don't you?
Arrow's good, like as superheroes go, because he has a bow and an arrow, and no special powers.
He's got a hood and he looks mysterious.
Yeah.
What about those eyes though, Mike, and the stubble? Mike, the stubble.
the things he's seen, man.
Yeah.
But Flash, Jesus, you know exactly what I'm going to think about this. It's another fucking superhero with another fucking sad backstory, and it's the sheer lack of masculinity that really drove me to distraction, you know.
You know what?
I'm sorry, is the 1950s appearing on the podcast? What's happening right now?
He is quite a kid, isn't he?
Yeah. You know, like, he makes Peter Parker look butch, you know.
He does. He does. I was just going to say, yeah.
Steve, I might have to. No, sorry, Mike. Go on. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
You know, if you're going to inflict superheroes on me, at least give me Thor or something you can fucking get behind, like, you know, big ass hammer and just fucking break shit.
Please explain why.
It's less boring than emotional
I'm just
crap
gonna
and
point
talking
out-
about feelings.
I'm just going to point out that Sean is roughly the same build as the Flash. Please continue.
My other big problem with it is that they seem to try and set up the plot in such a way that all the problems that are encountered can only be solved by running really quickly.
But he doesn't have any other superpowers.
So he quite obviously sucks. You need better
No, he doesn't.
superheroes.
He can do a lot of stuff, but you have to bring it in over time. Like, think back to Smallville, all the things that Superman could do, and they brought them in so slowly that you nearly got a season out of each one.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in because Sean can jump in on the comic veracity side of things, which I don't really have a lot of. I've read a little bit of The Flash, not very much, so I'm kind of judging this TV show on its own. It started off with a voiceover, with a voice that sounded very like Peter Parker, using a tone of voice very like the Spider-Man films. I went, oh God, here we go. This has been done. But then, when they started introducing character after character, I thought that all of them were pretty much fraught with potential storylines that I'd be interested in hearing. So, leaving the Flash aside, I'll talk about him in a minute. His best friend, sort of foster sister that he fancies the pants off, in a way I thought would appeal to you, Mike. She's ready to get some kind of love triangle, unrequited love thing going there, right? He immediately acquires a Scooby gang, who are themselves interesting characters. You have the gadgets guy, who's going to give us a new gadget every week, probably, if you're into that kind of thing. He's going to fix stuff that's going to be important to the Flash. Because as Steve mentioned, he can only run fast, right? You need someone to give you gadgets when that's your power. And then you have, the woman on the Scooby gang who has had a lot of tragedy in her life. She doesn't ever smile. Maybe the Flash can make her smile in a subsequent episode. So I'm interested in seeing all of these storylines play out, right? The only side character that I didn't like was Joe, the foster dad. So Joe, I think that's his name. He's a cop. Correct me if I'm wrong, by all means. He's a cop. He decided to adopt the kid when his dad was put in prison and his mother was killed. And yet, when he deals with the young Flash, he seems to be at times the least caring toward him of all the characters. Which makes no sense, because if you're willing to adopt a kid that's not your own and raise him, particularly when you don't know the family, then caring is probably going to be your raison d'etre.
Yeah.
And he's certainly not going to be. He was used in this show, do ex machina by the writer a couple of times, and it broke his character a lot, and that kind of jarred me a bit when it happened. And then back to the Flash, right? The Flash can do a hell of a lot of stuff. One of the things that annoys me the most in a superhero film or TV show is when a character has a power, either doesn't use it in obvious ways that would save things, right?
Yeah.
Or uses it one-dimensionally, which is what you've commented on, Steve, in this film. The Flash runs fast. That's all he does. If he's got a problem, then the solution is always going to be run faster, right? So the Flash can do a lot of stuff in the comics that he's going to figure out, right? But I thought they handled that pretty well in this, because it wasn't that he can't do stuff. He just hasn't figured it out yet, or he's too taken aback by real world events to actually act. And, I almost forgot the final member of the Scooby gang, the leader, who is plainly being set up to be a future
Xavier.
antagonist. And, he's involved in the twist at the end, and he's really good, I think, at telling us where the character's going at the start, and then in the shock reveal towards the end.
Do you think or did he remind you of a Jeff Goldblum that has been wheelchaired? I thought
That's a verb now.
I thought he looked
to be wheelchaired.
Yeah, wheelchair. That's one you brought up, isn't it?
All right, I'm obviously annoying people that don't like superhero movies at this stage. So, Sean.
So there are a lot of mistakes being made with the DC superheroes on screen. Thankfully, beginning with Arrow, it seems like the TV DC universe is shaping up pretty well. There were a lot of complaints about the Man of Steel that it basically just wasn't Superman. the guy in that movie is not acting like Superman does, because many of the DC comics, particularly the biggest ones, like the members of the Justice League, besides Batman, have this pretty much sensibility of hope. It's an aspirational thing, where it is, in fact, a lot of people who have emotions, who are just trying really hard to do things well. Which is why the comics were so successful when we as people were more receptive to those things. Grant Gustin, the actor, and The Flash, the TV show, get that really well. Like, it might be bright colors, and that's okay. It's alright for there to be people who have both aspirations and emotions at the same time while running around trying to do things, because it's the right thing to do. I agree with Mark in terms of the characters. There's a test with any TV show that when you pitch it, you need to know you can make 100 episodes out of it, because that's when you can start selling those episodes to various TV channels so they're in syndication and you make money for the rest of your life. There are that many episodes here very easily, especially considering the crossover potential. And given the way that the fans at Comic-Con reacted to the pilot, they've got their main audience on board, and they're going to get enough of a share of non-superhero enthusiasts, if there are that many of those left outside of your living room, Mike, that they're going to be able to have many seasons of this show. I'm really excited. The hook was amazing. The hook was amazing for people who didn't know stuff from the comics and people who do know stuff from the comics. Because at any point, shit could go really, really bad. And I'm really excited about the love triangle Mark talked about, particularly given my theories on some of the mysteries developing within the show. So I really liked it, and I'm going to watch this show until it dies or I do.
You could almost say, Sean, you're going to love this show for the rest of your life.
I just want to love this show for the rest of yours.
I enjoyed this, despite my reservation about the chosen actor for Barry Allen.
Steve Wrigley in shock superhero reveal.
I know, yeah. I'm kind of going to put it on, my Z Nation shelf. One of those I know I shouldn't really like, but I do. So it's actually, did you notice his dad in this, played by John Wesley Shipp, who was the original Flash in the 1990 version? How about that?
That's
pretty geeky,
really
Steve.
Cool.
Do you like that?
I really liked that TV show, actually.
There you go. Yeah. There's 22 episodes of it? I think it was 1990. Yeah, 1990, 91, yeah. There you go. Anyway, yeah, this is fun. It moves along at a nice pace. The dialogue isn't that irritating. It is a little bit at times, but I think the rest of it sort of makes up for it. I probably will watch more. I think Sean and yourself have said plenty about it.
Can I just add the context of the Arrow to this?
Okay.
You're Oliver McQueen. You spent 5 years in an island being tortured and beaten up.
Yeah.
And training with a bow and doing fancy chin-ups so that you can do all the stuff that the Arrow does. And then you meet this tiny little pipsqueak kid. And he can't do anything. He's more helpless than a baby in a bathtub, right? Then a week later, in TV world, he shows up in your city and he's so amped up and you're there going, motherfucker. I'd say the Arrow got home and did a lot of special chin-ups that night.
While crying.
Fucking Flash. And his fastness. The Flash can do a lot of stuff, though. He can spin an arm really fast and make a mini tornado to blow you away.
Well, you see, this is the thing that I want to see how creative they're going to get with, the way they do the effect where everyone else is in slow motion when the camera goes at his speed, is what I mean.
Yeah.
So I think they could do a lot of fun stuff like they did in the movie. Was it X-Men? It was X-Men, wasn't it? The last X-Men. And, so That's why I'm going to watch more of it, more so than for the story or anything like that. I just want to see what they're going to
He can break stuff by putting his hand on it and vibrating it really quickly, which I'm sure has other possibilities that Mike has just thought of. There was one, I read a story about the Flash one time where he meets one of his love interests. And when he got his first look at her, he immediately clicked his supervision, his speed vision, all the way up, so that he could have a good old stare at her for ages without much time passing and nobody noticing. So there's lots of scope for things like that.
Yeah. So trailer from you, I guess.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to see more. I'm really looking forward to it.
Mike,
do you even have to ask?
Okay, trailer from
At
Mike.
this age?
Yeah, it's trailer from me.
I am surprised at you, Steve.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I did kind of like it. Yeah. And Sean, his thriller. Yeah, I knew that before we watched it. Yeah. So, okay. So next up, we'll have some trailers and Coming to a Bicycle near you. The first one is Deadpool. Mark, was that you laughing at this earlier?
Oh, I was laughing so hard at this trailer. This isn't exactly a trailer; it's a clip, just some test footage, featuring Ryan Reynolds as the eponymous Deadpool. So Deadpool is a superhero. We met him in X-Men Origins Wolverine. He was part of a band of fighty mutants that featured Sabretooth and Wolverine that all had various X factors that made them suitable for combat. Deadpool's shtick from the comics is that he wisecracks the whole time. He is a wise ass. And Ryan Reynolds did that so well in this clip. I was just losing my shit watching this clip. It was so funny. And I thought that they really nailed the Deadpool persona. Even better than they did in that Wolverine film.
Have you played the game?
Deadpool the game? I haven't, no.
No, okay. Just wondering. Apparently it's full of cinematic clips within it that are full of jokes, and it's meant to be quite hilarious. Yeah. Anyway,
I'll have to check
just
that out.
an aside, yeah. Mike, did you see this? You didn't? Okay. I saw this too, and everything you say is true. Yes, it is. I thought it was hilarious. Yeah. And honestly, I didn't know who Deadpool was. Never heard of him. But, yeah. I'm looking forward to this one, actually. Yeah.
It's very accessible. Yeah. I can't wait to see this.
Well, if it keeps up that humor, yeah, I think it'll be great. Yeah. Next one we watched was all about Ava. Ava is IMDb is telling me here, a resilient and alluring young woman jockey infiltrates the stables of Pope Healy, a wealthy racing magnate. Determined to get revenge on behalf of her late father, her plan is thrown into chaos when she falls for Pope's wayward son. But is she ruthless enough to kill Pope and bring down his empire, or will she give up revenge for love? They did tell us that love is stronger than revenge, wasn't it? Yeah. What do you think of this, Mike? You didn't see this either. Did you not do your homework this week? Mark?
The only thing deadlier than revenge is love. Now, I would probably disagree with that statement outright, but I think it probably encapsulates the spirit of this movie quite well. So this was almost like a pilot film from Kildare, and we were turned on to this film from talking with some people from MS Ireland who blog as MS and Me, if you want to have a look for them on the internet. And so they made this film, and this film turning out the way it did, although I believe they made it under a bit of pressure for schedule and for budget, has convinced the Kildare County Council to grant them a 4-film deal over the next 12 months with a decent budget to make lots more films. So it's already been a success, regardless of how it does when it does the rounds on the film festivals. There was a couple of vaguely familiar actors in this from the Irish scene. It's definitely low budget. Yeah. It's hard to tell from the trailer how that affects the end result. It was really difficult. I don't know if that was by design or by accident, but it was hard to get a read on how it'll fit together. There was a lot of focus on a shotgun, which I think is going to be a major player in this.
Yeah.
phallic or otherwise, who knows? But they're definitely going to make use of it in some way. I'm interested. I'm tentatively interested. It's as trailers go, it's a little bit tricky to see, whether I'm dying to watch this or not. But I would be willing to give it a go just to see how the Irish local film industry is doing, particularly in Kildare.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to see this, and it looks like it's a quality show. So yeah, intrigued. So that's it soon.
Yeah, we'll probably give that a watch it soon when it comes out. It does seem like, I hope I wasn't underselling now. It does seem like it has good people in it. I just found it a little bit tricky from the trailer to figure out exactly what was going to be good and what was going to be interesting and so forth.
Okay, the last one we saw was Showrunners, The Art of Running a Show.
Oh, man.
What do you think of this?
I cannot wait to watch this. So this is a documentary about showrunners. Showrunners are the people who are lauded with the success and hung for the lack of that for all the big shows that we watch. And I've been interested for a long time in how that all works.
Yeah.
Because if you think of, and please name check me if I have this wrong, Frank Darabont was being landed with making a mess of Walking Dead, and they changed the showrunner. And people were going, oh, it's got a new showrunner now. And being a film reviewer and a TV reviewer, I was going, oh yes, they've changed the showrunner. I presume that will make a terrible difference. But I had no idea how a showrunner was going to make a difference to anything, because I didn't really understand the concept. And now, for people like me and people not like me, there's a documentary that can tell us. And in case you're not that interested in show running as a science in and of itself, like I would be, the people that they're talking to are from every big TV show that's out at the moment. You have The Good Wife, you have J.J. Abrams, who's doing films and TV shows alike. You have Joss Whedon of Buffy fame. They talked about Person of Interest. They've got
Homeland.
Any show you can think of, right? Yeah. There's just so many shows in there. So even if you're not interested in show running, I think there'll be definitely a couple of actors or showrunners in here who are doing the show that you watch. So it's a must watch for me. I can't wait to get a look at this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this too. And I believe that Sean may be interviewing the director.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I think that's might be happening tomorrow. It's Des Doyle. So we may have that very, very soon, maybe the end of this week. So yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. So yeah, I think that's it for this week. Big thanks to all those who were involved in organising the Irish Blog Awards last weekend. Really enjoyed it.
That was a great night.
Yeah, it was great fun. So
if only to have 3/4 of the podcast together in suits.
Yeah.
We were reservoir dogging that shit.
Pimping it.
I know that we generated a lot of criticism for distinct lack of ties.
Yeah, I noticed that all right. Yeah.
I don't know who criticised that, but they're wrong.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it for this week. So from Mike, Mark, Steve and Sean, stay classy.